I think that we ran up the middle pretty well.
I agree.
But again, I know I'm going to couch this.
We were seeing big-ass holes on the left side of the line.
Would we have ran up the middle really well if we would have had our studs on the deep? But again,
honestly, I don't know how much we can tell from the defense from the spring game.
Yeah.
45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. He's gonna go. Holy cow.
Big Red Junkies.
Day by day, he gets better and better. He gets better and better. Give it JPP. Oh, man, woman, and child, he just turned this stadium inside out.
Yeah.
We had a spring game.
That was a fun game.
It was a fun game. At least the first half was.
It happened.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I truly enjoyed it. I thought that it kind of sucked that we didn't see full live action, and I also was super disappointed that so many guys didn't play or weren't allowed to play. It's kind of funny to hear Rhule talk about some of the guys that were like coming up to him with their pads, trying to get on the field like constantly.
Yeah. It sounded like Tommy Hill.
Tommy Hill basically forced himself on the field for a series.
It sounded like he snuck his way on the field. He had all of these guys that he wasn't expecting to play.
Tommy, what the fuck are you doing out there?
But he had all these guys that weren't expected to play warm up. He had them all go through warm ups.
Yeah.
And then he was like, you, and you are not playing. And then Tommy Hill's like, let me just slide right in here. Just shh. Nobody's going to notice.
The guy who can't get enough of the football wanted to get on the field.
Yeah.
Sounded like he got a whole series out of it.
He was probably over on the sideline like,
yeah.
I got to do it. I got to get it.
Like he's crackhead Bob, just like, I need my fix.
And as much as you want to rest them because of all the reasons that Rhule's already cited as far as reps and things like that, and they've already showed us what they can do, it's cool to have guys that want to do that.
Yes.
100%. It's you will see on a lot of teams, the upperclassmen, the guys that have been there, done that, been out there, put in their time. They don't have to prove anything. They're going to want to sit back and chill and not even be engaged on the sidelines for some games like that.
Well, it's part of the building the culture that we've been doing for the last year and a half. I mean, guys like Tommy Hill that are just like pissed off that they're not going to play, or Isaac Gifford that goes in for one series and is pissed off that he's not going to play enough. It shows these younger guys like this is what you build towards.
Yeah.
Like it's part of building the culture.
Looked like he was throwing his hands in the air and getting as fired up as anybody else, including coaches on the sideline.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was cool to see. I thought there was a lot more action than I expected, to be honest with you. Like we talked about our over-unders on number of total pass attempts per quarterback, and at least a couple of them kind of blew that out of the water.
Yeah.
They really let him go, but you know what? At the same time, as much as they let him go, everything was they kept everything pretty simplistic. There wasn't a ton of plays run.
Well, in the first half, there was a ton of plays run.
Executed so much better than anything we saw live game last year.
Yeah, I got to say, the offense just let me take a big sigh of relief getting to watch him out there.
We're going to get into quarterbacks later in the show, but just not even Dylan Raiola. Seeing Harburg look like a quarterback.
Yeah.
First drive, he looked like Harburg. He did. First drive, it was disappointing, whatever.
Well, and he said early on in the first week of spring, he was like, I'm trying to get past falling back on these old tendencies.
Yeah.
So he kind of did that when he got out there and the nerves were hitting him. But once he got comfortable, it actually looked a lot better.
He looked like he calmed down. He settled. And you could see where there's been improvement. You could see him throwing guys open instead of throwing it at their back shoulder as they're running a slant route.
That throw down the middle of the field, that 60-something yard pass to Borkacher.
Yeah.
You would not have seen that last year.
He would have sailed him.
Close.
He would have sailed him because he'd have been so afraid of getting intercepted.
Well, even if Borkacher would have caught that, he would have had to jump, he would have had to lean, he would have, whatever else, and he wouldn't have been able to run after the catch, just a perfect pass right into it, all of that stuff. So, yeah.
And I know it was a spring game, but just the fact that the offense looked more comfortable than they did at all last year was an improvement in mine.
And I'm just going to say this now because I might say this a handful of other times, and I'm not trying to throw a wet blanket over anything. We're saying all this stuff knowing that the defense was, to say it was vanilla is a drastic understatement.
There were several times where they tapped a butt instead of tackling somebody.
Not just because of the amount of players that did not play that are stars for our defense, but just the way that they were playing defense.
Yeah.
So take that out of the equation. still the way that the defense was able to look competent. I know you said we're going to get into the quarterbacks later, but the way that both quarterbacks specifically, Harburg and Rhule, as soon as they got to their back foot, they were decisive.
Yes.
Both of them. We did not see that from Harburg last year.
No.
About being decisive when his back foot touched the ground to get ready to throw, he was ready to go.
Yeah, there seems to be a very clear difference in the way that they have prepared, even though they're not preparing for a game right now.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they've prepared just simply from a quarterback's working with a quarterback's coach, not an offensive coordinator.
Yep.
I think that's going to be the biggest difference that you're going to see specifically in Harburg this year. And the way that he played, honest to God, it made me way less nervous about him being our backup heading into the fall.
I've said it countless times. He has to be a viable option.
Yes.
And you could hear whatever you want to from the two previous scrimmages on how well he was playing or Kalen was playing or anybody else was playing. To be able to see it the way that we did on Saturday, he is a viable option.
Yes. Much more so than he was last year.
Yes.
But we're completely off topic.
I know,
We said we weren't going to get to the quarterbacks yet, and that's all we've done.
We're all so excited. That's what
If
it
you
is.
have a touch of ADD, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit like. We
Yes.
appreciate you. We love you. Thanks for being here to support the show, guys. Share it with your friends. Post about it. Whatever. Give us your feedback. Drop it in the comments. Back to kind of the main thing that I saw. Like, I want to start kind of with the negatives.
Okay.
The negatives that I saw out there. I didn't like a lot of the offensive line play. I thought for us not having our true defensive starters out there, at least on the front line, our offensive line looked a little porous. There were a lot of times, especially with what was supposedly the first unit, there was a lot of times where guys were almost running free to the quarterback, it looked like. And if it had been a tackle game where they were coming in with reckless abandon, it would have been probably a little bit different story as far as the success that the quarterbacks would have been able to have.
In the passing game, yes. I think that we ran up the middle pretty well.
I agree.
But again, I know I'm going to couch
We were
this.
seeing big-ass holes on the left side of the line.
Would we have ran up the middle really well if we would have had our studs on the deep? But again,
Honestly, I don't know how much we can tell from the defense from the spring game.
yeah.
But that was, to my point, though, is the offensive line really struggling as bad as they looked on Saturday? Is kind of my thing.
But also, as far as the offensive line, at least with a running game situation, were they as bad as, and I agree with you, but were they as bad as we're saying, or at least as sketchy? I guess I shouldn't be too overly negative and say they were bad, but were they as sketchy as we think that they were when you have a game plan where they were clearly just wanted to chuck the ball around?
Yeah.
So the focus wasn't to run the ball in the spring game. It was kind of more of a compliment just to give a couple of guys some carries and we'll see what happens, and also with the offensive line that they were doing, they were still kind of doing it like last year where you play both sides, you have the gray jerseys on, you are mix matching everybody.
I found it really difficult to tell who was out there all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
the announcers.
I was really trying to specifically in the first half because, one of the guys that I had mentioned was Henry, and I wanted to watch him, but it was so hard to figure out who was in and at certain moments and everything
and some
else.
Guys and changed their hair. And it's a little different.
Honestly, the only guy that stood out to me, and unfortunately it wasn't in a good way, was that Jason Machacek. I'm probably butchered his last name, but he was a freshman last year. And man, he got worked a handful of times that I actually noticed that he was out there. Man, he has some. Now, granted, when he came in last year, he was kind of that defensive lineman / offensive lineman. They were trying to figure out which side of the ball he was going to be on. So maybe he's still working and all that stuff. It's not like he's a lost cause by any means, but he struggled in the spring game. That's of the guys that I could notice that was in there on a consistent basis. Yeah.
Speaking of noticing guys on a consistent basis, I thought it was very interesting to see. Like we said ahead of time, Harburg got the start, but it seemed like based on the way that they put that out there, it looked like Harburg was starting, but with the second twos against the twos for the day. Interesting to see Dowdell, who, like we mentioned, we didn't hear anything about all spring. He was on the one team,
or at least in the last half of spring.
Yeah, came out and was starting with the ones. With Rhule in that second series, and he looked good.
He looked
good.
He looks bigger in pads than I thought he would.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's put on a little bit of weight because he definitely looked bigger on Saturday than he has in any of the Oregon stuff I've seen.
So at first listen/watch when the game was going on, I was at work, so I was listening to it on the radio. And one of the things Damon was saying was he really likes Dowdell and how he runs, but Dowdell is not a home run threat. He's more of a
He was like dragging his right leg when he got that touchdown.
Well, no, but Damon was saying how he's like the 4-minute offense where you have to drain the clock type of running back.
Beat somebody down.
Exactly. He's that.
I didn't think he was that big.
He's that big body guy that is just going to run the clock, get a handful of yards when needed, and everything else.
I'll definitely take averaging 11 yards a carry, though.
Well, I mean, it helps when you have that 40-something yard run. And the funny thing is,
46-yard run.
And the funny thing is even Rhule after the game goes, I've never seen that out of Dowdell. Like that kind of burst. Like
he was dragging his whole right side of his body as hard as he possibly could. He was like, "Oh, come on, come on!"
It even shocked the head coach that he was able to run that far for that long.
It was good. It was good, and I was kind of surprised to see. Emmett Johnson, I thought looked really sharp. He looked really sharp.
I completely
He looked
agree.
like a stud when he was out there.
Yes.
And they only let him carry it, I think, 5 times.
Yep. Yeah, he looked like he wanted to be.
Well, and
it looked like he is the one.
Yeah, I was going to say, from what you've heard so far, they alluded to it a little bit this last week, that he's kind of taken that room over a little bit, and he has way less of a, I'm just happy to be here this year on the podium, and it's a little more calm, it's a little more leadership style.
Well, and again, one of the things that Damon Benning said, and Damon Benning knows a little bit about running backs.
Just a little bit.
Emmett Johnson, he might not have the size that a lot of people want, but he's always falling forward.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things about running backs. Just fall forward.
But
Absolutely.
The fact that he can play in the middle and he continues to play in the middle, the way that he does at his size, it's very impressive.
Yes.
Very impressive. And he had one where he went to the left side and the hole was just like I could have got 5 yards on that run. I was like, Jesus, they are plowing them over. That was nice to see. The one that I was the most happy surprised with was Mazuka. He's a little guy, but he's able to be out. Like, he was getting around and he got carries. I think he had the fourth most carries on the team.
I think he looked really good. I kind of just wonder if, and we'll probably get into a little bit of this, whether it's on some of the defensive players. One of them is ending up transferring now, Chief Borders, but some of the wide receivers also, some of the running backs. Did they get the carries that they got on Saturday or the pub that they got through spring practice because of what they were doing? And I'm not trying to minimize that, or because of the guys ahead of them that did not practice.
Yeah.
Probably some of both.
Again, I'm not trying to minimize what
And
they
also,
were doing, but
in springtime, you want to get a look at everybody.
bingo.
So in spring, you're going to get carries no matter how good or how shit you are.
So as good as Mazuka looked at, during that game, that one spin move that he had in the second half, and what he's been talked about through the spring practice, it's like, cool. I'm glad he's gotten that opportunity. But when you get Ramir and you get Gabe Ervin back, does that push him down that much further? Does it actually give him the opportunity? I don't know. We'll find out, but
yeah,
that's kind of part of the spring practice.
It's nice to see that we have guys, though, that we can go to.
Yes,
Last year when we still had guys in the room, that they were instead deciding, no, let's go move this 6th-year wide receiver transfer in from Baylor back over to running back instead of using the guys that are in the
Josh Fleeks, yeah.
Yeah, no, and I knew his name. I wasn't trying to throw him under the bus.
I was just wanted to say it. So.
It is what it is. It's just nice that we have more depth there, I guess, and I felt like I actually got to see that. It was kind of like actually seeing Harburg put something together.
Yeah.
It was just a little bit more of a calming feeling. And overall, like my just overall impression from the whole thing was we are a bigger, faster, more disciplined team now than we were at the end of last season.
Oh, like even before last. I mean,
I'm talking about
going into the season,
Iowa game last year. Going into the Iowa game last year, at the end of the season, I don't think we were as big, fast, strong, tough, disciplined as we were in the spring game this year.
Makes you slightly fucking excited.
A lot more than slightly. Because we got to remember, guys, this is still spring.
Yes.
This is still spring, and it's just like I think what Corey, what's his name? The strength and conditioning coach, Corey Campbell. I think he's obviously a home run hitter. The guy is absolutely crushing it. When you look at the body transformations on some of these guys, and I'm not just talking about necessarily getting bigger. I'm talking about getting leaning out more. When you I saw a video come through. It was like a random reel, and it was Scott Frost was in it, so it had to have been, I think it was like 2001 or 2020 or 2021. But the linemen were doing jumping jacks, and like both offensive and defensive linemen were doing jumping jacks, and they all looked pudgy compared to Nebraska football players that we have right now. Well, I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this?
I'll bring up one
Some
player.
of our fat men are kind of chiseled.
I'll bring up one player specifically. He's a redshirt freshman this upcoming season. He caught a pass out of his ass, almost literally. It was the play right after Demetrius Bell got injured. Ishmael Smith-Flores, he's the tight end. You watch him reach way behind him.
He picked that up off the ground almost.
But look at how big he is. When he came in here as a freshman last year, he was 210. Now, he's listed at 225, but I tell you, you go back and watch that play.
He's 240 easy.
Easy.
240, maybe 250.
Easy.
Yeah, 225 is fighting weight.
I saw that. I rewatched the spring game before we started recording earlier today because I happen to have today off. And I saw that play again, and I was just like, holy shit, who the fuck was that? So then I was looking at the numbers, and oh my damn, that dude is freaking huge compared to what he came in
have
at.
That on the run, reaching back, be able to reach down. It's not just about bulking up, getting fit. It's about that pliability, that ability to stay as flexible as you possibly can.
Being athletic.
You look at when you look at injuries, you look at a couple guys that have had amazing careers. One would be considered the GOAT. One is a total bitch, but some people like to call him the GOAT. Tom Brady and LeBron James both talk about how pliability and flexibility in general has been the only reason they've been able to play and sustain their level of excellence as long as they did.
Yep.
Did/do. I hate LeBron to death, but the dude's still balling out at basically 40 fucking years old in his 21st or 22nd year in the season.
He still looks impressive
amazing.
as fuck.
Yeah, he still looks amazing. And that's all due to
You can hate him, but he's still one of the best. It's just
you can hate all you want. I can hate all I want, but I still respect the hell out of him, and he's still good to watch.
It's kind of like me with Tom Brady. I hated him his entire career, and then towards the end, I was just like, you know what? I have to kind of give up on this and just be good.
It's way easier when you're not putting on the ring every year. But when we look at the entire team, they just look more fit and more confident.
Yeah.
And we lost two guys in spring that one of them is going to be out for the whole season. It sounds like Bly Hill's basically going to miss everything up to fall training. Hopefully he's back by then, but they said it's going to be at least 8 to 10 weeks, most likely. And that's going to take him out till July.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he misses the first half of the season just for maybe conditioning and just precautionary type stuff. Outside of him actually needing a surgery, which I don't know if he's going to or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if he misses a handful of games to start the season. But we'll see.
Which that's disappointing because we've been hearing great things about him, but injuries happen. I was very thankful that nothing happened to any of the major, wide receivers, running backs.
Nothing good. Half of them didn't play.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's funny that
you can't knock them for the fact that they did that. It just, as a fan, pissed me off.
As a fan watching the game, it was kind of frustrating, but it didn't lack in entertainment.
It's like going to a basketball game and watching Kawhi Leonard. It's about 60% of the time.
Yeah, but we were texting back and forth before the game started, and I was listening to the radio broadcast, and I was updating you guys on who was and who wasn't going to be playing, and you, BJ, specifically was getting really pissed off every time I tell you this person's not playing, this person's not playing. You're like,
because Rhule made it sound like they were going to play at least one series.
But then you also said, but at the same time, if Hutmaker goes out there and he plays one series and snaps his leg, I'd be way more pissed off.
Oh, God, yeah. That's the best thing about what happened on Saturday is we got out of there without any major injuries to major players. Yes,
But
losing Blyhill, that
might have been. We don't know for sure, but he might have been.
We have guys to step in his spot.
And
hopefully.
He might be back. We don't know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a wait-and-see situation.
Do you think, and I know this is way ahead of schedule, but do you think like a Malcolm Hartzog moves back to corner to take that? Again,
I don't know, man. The way that Coop answered the question about Hartzog and whether or not he was going to play, kind of flex
or
like
is
he
it
did
a
last year.
Jeremiah Charles?
He made it very clear that he felt like he did a disservice to Hartzog last year, and that he put him in the spot, moving him back and forth to not be successful.
Well, because
and that he wasn't going to do that again this year.
We've talked about a handful of different players, whether it's Corcoran or Tommy Hill specifically.
Yeah.
Moving position by position. And I know that we've been pointed out by some people on social media that Corcoran mainly played a certain position, but he still did get bounced around. At least mentally, he got bounced around because, play a handful of positions here, but.
Which is really difficult to do because the transition from tackle to guard specifically, it's a different ballgame.
Yes. So it's like, I'm not saying I want Hartzog to move back because I don't like the whole bouncing back and forth. Somebody mentally to be able to prepare themselves for a certain position is far more beneficial than anything else. But the depth that we have on that other side outside of Tommy Hill is still a little thin with Hartzog moving over to safety.
I think the only way that something like that happens where we pull a guy back is if the prognosis is really bad.
Or even another injury on top of it,
Yep. Obviously, you got to have guys there to play the position.
Yeah.
But to BJ's point, they don't want to be fucking over a player like that anymore.
I mean, hell, they're starting to do that to a guy. They had Jaden Doss play wide receiver and defensive back in the spring game. They're kind of, because we're so deep at the wide receiver position, they're checking to see if he's interested in playing defensive back. So,
yeah. Well, I think that's going to just be a normal thing throughout the coach, or as long as Rhule's here, just because it sounds like he lets the offense and defensive coaches battle over those guys because they're going out and finding these raw athletes that they feel like could play both sides of the ball. And they're going to play you both ways until they know for sure which direction they want to go with you.
Well, and we've all said it 1,000 times. Be undeniable.
Yeah.
Make me not be on the field.
Well, if
in one way, shape, or form, it doesn't fucking matter if it's offense, defense, or whatever fuck position it is. Force me to not be on the field. Good luck.
If you're 6th, 7th, 8th wideout on the depth chart, or because there's great, fantastic upperclassmen ahead of you, or you could be CB2, I think you'd have a better opportunity if you're trying to be that guy who's just, I have to be on the field. You have to put me on the field.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want the opportunity to go on the other side of the ball?
If you still intend to catch the ball, because I totally take
if you're Tommy Hill. We do need some ball hawks on that side.
Because, I mean, realistically, at wide receiver, you've got Jamal Banks, Isaiah Nayor. I'm gonna start saying Nayor like Sipple does specifically because the guys on the TV were saying it that way. The guys on the radio were saying it that way. So it's more of the emphasis on the or. Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, I know I'm not allowed to say his name, I'm sorry, but Alex Bullock, Malachi Coleman, Jalen Lloyd, that's just 6 right there. And then you have Ja'Cory Barney, who, hello, at the spring game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's 7. Like, where's Jaden Doss fit in this?
The catch that he made down the sideline for that touchdown, the 41-yarder, that was impressive as hell, but that was like a pick my jaw up off the ground throw by Harper.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whether or not that was luck or not, that was an impressive as fuck throw, back shoulder, away from the defender. It was perfectly placed. It was great.
Yeah. After his first drive, when he kind of composed himself, that makes me feel like that wasn't luck, and he's actually improved that much.
Well, and that's the thing. Like,
it's very clear he's working with somebody that is getting him to understand not only his arm angles and the way that he needs
talked
to
about
be
his footwork
tracking. His footwork was 10 times better.
He's thinking more like a quarterback and
saw.
less like somebody out there on the playground throwing a ball around.
It makes me think back to the way he looked last year and just think the whole time he looked fucking antsy as shit.
Mm-hmm.
So that
like he was, I think I gotta run. Oh no, I'll pass it. Oh no, I gotta run.
Sorry, we're getting back into the quarterbacks again.
Yeah.
No, but that touchdown was a great pass, and I remember watching it and I was like, holy shit, this is a different quarterback.
Yeah.
But then again, I'll go back to what I already referenced earlier, that pass, that 60-something yard pass to Borkature, that was an even better pass. It didn't go for a touchdown, But because that's a pass that we saw a lot from last year, from at least distance-wise, maybe not the routes and all that stuff.
Completed is totally
but
new.
seeing it completed, the way that it was completed, right into his hands, in stride, running after the ball, like all of that stuff included, makes, for me, that pass more impressive than the touchdown one was. As impressive as the touchdown one was.
I'm with you on that.
Because of what we saw last year. But yeah.
I also thought Borkature looked really good.
Oh yeah, he did.
He looked like a true tight end 2 back there.
There was a couple of people, because of what Fedoni, Borkature, and Lindemeyer have done and did in the spring game. They were, obviously talking about Carter Nelson coming in. Somebody actually, and I don't even remember who it was, somebody actually said, assuming he stays at tight end, I was like, wait a second, what? Like,
Carter Nelson is an athletic freak that could play anywhere on the field.
I get it, but still, I'm just like, again, be undeniable. Make me not be on the field. I get it, but...
Could you imagine seeing him maybe put on 15 pounds and come off the edge? As athletic as he is? That'd be insane.
I don't want to imagine it. I'd love to see it.
Oh, and he's so fast. Like, not that we need more D-line guys right now. That's not what I'm going at. But, if
it'd be pretty nice to be able to pull him up, though.
Yeah.
If being undeniable and getting him on the field is something that is a target for him this season, which I really don't think it should be with the tight end room we have, but the way that they're recruiting tight ends still for next year's class, it almost makes me wonder, is he?
That's why I brought it up, because I was like...
you could also shed 15 pounds off of him, and he'd still be an absolute freak outside wide receiver.
Look what they're doing with Janarian Bonner. How they had him lose some weight from the tight end / fullback position. Now he's an electric wide receiver.
Yeah.
Like, even the long pass to Jalen Lloyd, Janarian Bonner was on the outside completely wide open.
Yeah.
Like, so even if a guy
we had guys getting open.
Even if a guy could keep up with Jalen Lloyd on that play specifically, which was a great pass by Dylan Rhule, trailing him was Janarian Bonner, and he was wide open.
Yeah. We definitely saw a lot more open wide receivers than we saw pretty much all of last season.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was due to the defense playing poorly.
No. I mean,
there's just a lot more going on with this scheme right now, and whether or not we have 2 of 3 of our quarterbacks that are freshmen, it seems like they have a very, very different level of playbook out there for these quarterbacks to deal with.
It's because they have a different level of passer out there than we did last year.
So back away from the quarterbacks, guys. Back away from the quarterback.
Entirely. I have a question for you guys. It's kind of a rainy day question, but is it time to push the panic button on Albano yet?
Do you want me to turn on a kicker show?
No, going right.
I'm just sitting quiet waiting for Jed to answer.
My man is
he
1
is,
for 3.
Yeah.
The longest one was 43 yards.
And that first one was awful.
Yeah.
Both of the first 2 were awful.
And this is going to be as low of pressure situation as it's going to get for him this year.
Yeah, that was...
I will disagree with you there just from a standpoint of there's no way he hasn't heard about it from last year. And he wasn't in front of anybody else's fans. He was in front of all of his own.
You think?
And all of the most critical eyes pointed and focused on the hometown kid that's supposed to be the superstar. They're wondering what the fuck is wrong with you. And then you missed that first one, and then you missed the second one. I hope we're not running into an Alex Henry gets to the NFL type of situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see at any point when that stadium is full, he's going to be in a lower pressure situation.
Yeah.
Because now people are still going to talk about it.
No,
as we get into
you're right.
Fall.
You're right.
Should we be concerned, you guys think?
Yesterday morning, I heard Damon talking about this.
At least thought twice, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe not concerned, maybe not to the concern level, but double think, yes.
For me,
it's only his second year. I get it.
Yeah.
I had a lot higher panic level on this until I heard Damon talk about it yesterday. And Ravi asked him about it specifically. And Damon coaches at Westside.
Yep.
He knows Tristan very, very well. His son was playing with him alongside of him. He has a close connection with him. And he basically just explained it as he needs to refocus and get his head out of social media, get his head out of what everybody else is saying.
Definitely has to stop reading the comments.
He said, get back to having fun playing football.
Yeah.
That's what he needs to get back to. And it sounds like that's the efforts that are being put in this offseason.
Somebody needs to get him some weed or something because he kicks the ball great when he doesn't care.
Why does he run the clock all the way down and almost Almost get a delay of game in order to get these kicks off.
So, when I was listening to the game, when Barney had that kick return for like 60-something yards or whatever it was, and he got tackled by Tristan Alvano, which is hilarious.
Which was really funny because he's like, "You're on my team."
No, he did. He thought he was
because he was in gray.
He thought he was running with him to celebrate.
And he just reached out and yanked his.
No, he tackled him. But then
I thought he yanked his.
No, he
yanked
flat
the
out
flag
tackled
on
him.
Oh.
And then even Ja'Cory Barney stands up and he points at him like, "What the fuck are you doing?" But on the
That was a great run back.
yeah,
That was awesome.
On the radio, Damon was talking about how great of an athlete Tristan Alvano is, and when he was at Westside, he was like their scout team player that was tackling all these people like for their like practices. So this is a guy that is a football player. He's not just a kicker.
Yep.
Like he's an athlete. And there's something going on between the ears that he's just something needs to be figured out. I don't
just
know.
needs some love.
I don't know.
Tristan Alvano, I know you're watching this because everybody watches this. You got it, kid.
I still believe in him,
Get it
but
together. I believe in you. You're a kicker. You got one job to do.
I've got a 5-minute video clip that I can show you of
It's not
other
five.
kickers.
It's like 18
actually,
hours.
Kicker documentary up in here.
Kicker.com over here.
Anything else that we saw that really stood out? I mean, other than I guess I don't understand. Rhule said ahead of the game that they weren't gonna. He said we're gonna thud kickoffs. We're not gonna do any of that.
Yeah,
and
it was like
then they did that
full
for the first
return.
like 2.
Yeah.
And then it was like fuck it, let him run.
Yeah.
and then after that, because of the injuries, he's like, "We are not hitting anybody."
No, run the clock the
Yeah.
whole second half. Let's get out of here.
Well, in the third quarter, it was supposed to be regular clock, but then they said quick clock in the third quarter after the
They
injuries
ran the
happened.
clock. The announcers on TV literally said it's a running clock.
Well, really, what it was the quarterback was not allowed to snap the ball until there was like 2 seconds left on the play clock minimum, and then they also ran the ball like every fucking play. So it was like we are just gonna let.
You got the quarterbacks that all the walk-ons got in there to do it.
Yeah,
I don't blame him. You see
No,
one,
absolutely not.
you see one player go down. It's like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
We're done.
I didn't think, if it comes down to it, the walk-on guys that we saw come in, they managed the game fine.
Yeah.
As well as what we saw anybody do last year.
Yeah.
I'm not that worried about it.
Well, and it was kind of funny rewatching the game from the TV because Rhule was in the TV booth when those 2 injuries happened.
Yeah. You heard him just kind of, ooh.
You could if you listened to him before the injury to Demetrius Bell, which is the first one, and after that, and especially after the Naor or the Bly Hill one, like
Noticeable tone.
noticeable. He's like, I want to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and then he was like, I gotta get back down there. No more long stories. I gotta get back
I
down
gotta
there.
get back down there and tell
Like
my
every
coaches
other
to
sentence
get
out of
everybody off
him
the
was
field.
like, I just hope these guys are okay. I just hope these guys are okay. Like, I hate the fact that they got injured. Like, he
And
was.
I hate even more that I'm in here talking
Yes.
to you people while this is happening.
Yes.
Yeah. What was the Gassers thing about the end of the fourth quarter? You think that's just a normal thing that he does at practice, or?
So again, listening to it on the radio, Damon thinks that it was a throwback to the history of Nebraska football because he said that that's what they used to do back in the day. After every scrimmage, they would do gassers. And he said only people that have played in this program would understand what this is. So I'm
Was
not
it
saying
tip of the cap to the history.
maybe that. I
And
mean,
they only did one. They didn't really, and it wasn't even a full
Yeah.
gasser.
I don't know that for an absolute fact.
Yeah,
But that's what Damon says. That's what Damon said on the radio. So I'm.
it's not like he's not a little on the inside.
yeah, yeah,
He's got a little insider info.
yeah.
I figured since they only did one, that it had to be that and not some sort of like punishment for something wrong. Because like there were more turnovers than that, stuff like that. So
Well,
The turnovers, I thought.
Yeah.
knock on wood, I thought the turnovers were clean.
Only 2 of them.
The one that
this is
Rhule,
wood.
the one that Rhule threw.
Is it real?
Yeah.
The one that
It's got a
Rhule,
corkboard underneath.
the one that Rhule threw was a tip. It wasn't his fault. I mean, it was a little behind him.
It was
But
behind the player.
It was.
I put that at
I
least
put
half
it
on him.
honestly. I put it on both of them because it should not have been behind him, but the receiver also should have caught it. So
sure.
tweet both.
You know what though? I'll live with one interception by a quarterback in a game.
Oh, yeah.
That's Tom Brady throws interceptions. That's
all the best quarterbacks
Patrick
throw
Mahomes
interceptions.
Like those things happen. The throws that they were making on a regular basis were just tremendous.
Yes. I did with just real quickly with that interception. Sean Callahan said it hit the receiver right in the numbers. It's like, what the fuck play did you see?
Where were you watching?
His numbers were there like a second previously while he was running.
Did he have numbers on his shoulder?
No.
Like, okay, hey, whatever. Like, again, I'm not putting all the blame on Rhule for that pass, but it was a bad pass, but it was also a bad catch.
Yeah.
So.
And you're still a freshman.
Yeah.
How did we do on the questions?
Well, I did terrible. I can tell you that.
Well, you didn't think we were going to see near as much as we did.
I didn't. First question was passes by Dylan Rhule, 14.5. He had 22. And I mean, I think he had 13 or 16 at halftime. So something like so. Sure. I think he had the over at halftime. So because he played a little bit at like one series in the third quarter, but I was the only one to take the under. Even the fans took the over on that one. Longest running play by a non-quarterback, 22.5 yards. Dowdell did that with a 49-yard run in the third quarter. Myself and the fans were the only ones that took the over. I went down too far here. Longest touchdown pass, 50.5 yards. You claimed that we were trying to convince you to go with the over, and we weren't, but you should have. Because Lloyd had the 64-yard touchdown. You were the only one to take the under on that one. Who will have more receiving yards between these 5 players? Nayor, Fedoni, Lloyd, Doss, or Barney? Lloyd had 3 catches for 97 yards. BJ and Matt, you guys both took Lloyd. The fans took Fedoni. I took Barney, who had still a great game, 3 catches for 66 yards. Fumbles by the offense, 2.5. They only had the one snapped fumble by Rhule, just kind of hit him in the hands wrong, and he fell right on it, so no big. BJ and the fans took the under, and takeaways by the defense was 2.5. They only had the 2 interceptions. Everybody took the over on that one.
I really thought we'd see a couple more picks.
I kind of did too,
especially late. I didn't expect to see Harburg throw the ball the way he did. I'll be honest with you. That was the big difference for me. I did. I truly expected at least 2 out of him.
I don't disagree with you.
And he played way above my expectations. I think Danny Kaelin played about where I expected him to. He looked like a freshman.
No, we're fine.
We're going to have a whole other show just on the quarterbacks.
But BJ and Matt, you guys both went 3 and 3 of the 6 questions. I went 2 and 4. The fans actually beat all of us at 4 and 2.
Damn.
Way to go, fans.
Well done. Go fuck yourself.
I did. I did not do very well.
He's the season champ, though, last year, so we got to...
Yeah, so
I have it somewhere where I did look up... I guess this is a quarterback thing, so maybe...
It also looked like we fell short of the record, or the... Going over last year's attendance by like 200 people, something like that.
No, we didn't go over it because last year
we fell short of it by like 200.
I thought it was like 66,000 last year.
Or
honestly, I don't really care.
60,004 something, and this year we had 60,002 something.
The rain threat didn't help.
I really don't care what the attendance
Especially
was.
after everybody got pelted by a storm the night before.
Yeah, but I thought that would keep a lot of people away, and I was shocked to see the turnout.
And this may be the most unbelievable night in Cornhusker football history.